about you, John? This Saturday marks 50 years since the Apollo 11 moon landing, and today we're getting a preview of how the American Museum of Natural History is celebrating the historic anniversary here in New York. And here with us is Dr. Jackie Faraday, a senior scientist and education manager at the museum. Thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. So
many special events kicking off to celebrate this historic moment in time. What can we expect at the museum this morning?
So this morning we're having a big a press conference, and so I'm going to jet out of here and run back up to the museum. Yeah, not quite the same rocket, not quite a Saturn V.
Oh, they don't provide that for you? Okay,
I don't really need that power to get to the museum. It's not too far, but yeah. So we're going to showcase, we're going to show off the new revitalized Hall of Meteorites, and we're going to take people on a tour like you have never had before in our planetarium dome, which will be available for anybody in the public to come by for Space Fest, which is happening on Saturday all day at the museum.
Oh, I love it. You know, when you think about that moment in time, if you were alive and witnessing it, it is forever etched in your mind. How significant was that mission back then, and what does it represent today?
It's such a good question to ask somebody like me, too, because I wasn't alive. You were not alive either. 50 years ago, my dad was certainly alive, and I can remember him telling me about where he was when it happened, what it meant to the people that were there. I think it created a whole generation of people inspired by science, inspired to consider the cosmos. For those of us that are around today, we look back on that moment as the look towards the future, to what we can be doing in space flight, in space exploration in the coming years.
You know, it's interesting to have you say that, because we haven't been back to the moon since the Apollo program ended. So what do you think is next, and what are your thoughts about some of the programs like SpaceX and Blue Origin that are saying that they're actually going to take commoners to the moon, not astronauts that are trained? Is that really a reasonable thing?
Yeah, absolutely. So 1972 was the last time that we actually left low Earth orbit. So since then, we've certainly sent people up to the International Space Station, but no one else has left a couple hundred miles above the surface. And now with Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and Naveen Jain and several of these big names that are really got like a bee under their bonnet.
Yes, they're in it.
They want to go to space. They really want to. And I am very excited about the prospect. I'm also very cautious, since for me as an astronomer, I want to protect and preserve our nighttime sky, and to make sure that as we're doing this, as we're moving forward in this new generation of space flight, space travel, that we remember that that's our access point into the cosmos, into looking up into space. And it's exciting to think about going, but it's also exciting to consider everything that's out there that we have access to when we look up in our nighttime sky.
And thinking about that, you are now bringing it back down to Earth for us to look at. Talk a little bit about the meteorites exhibit that you have going on and what we can expect to see there.
Yeah, so the Hall of Meteorites has gotten a shiny new face to it. In that hall, you can see 4 of our lunar rocks. So the Apollo mission, one of the legacies of it, as it was a return mission, the astronauts brought back a lot of rocks. And we have a couple of those on display at the museum. You're seeing one right now on display that you'll get to see showcased so beautifully. There's also, that I think actually just before was a meteorite. It actually fell from the moon and landed here. These are our moon rocks right there. So in this hall, it's a great, great hall. You're actually seeing the objects, both that came from the moon and that fell from the sky, landed on this planet, and they were really the building blocks of the planet that we're standing on right now on the Earth.
It's just unbelievable to think that you are looking at something that has come from what is such a foreign space to us every day as we walk around.
Yeah.
Do you still get that excitement when you look at these?
Absolutely. Every day, I was in there last night. I was walking around with my niece and my nephew. They're little, and they don't understand yet exactly what it means, so I try and instill it upon them. And seeing their wonder of just the question of, what do you mean it came from the moon? Like, how do you, it looks so far away, right? Like, it's not something that they got right at that moment, and then I watched them sort of take it in. Because it doesn't look that different, but it is so different.
Yeah.
It's a completely magnificently different world, and we have access to studying it. So,
and something that everyone should take advantage of. So I want to do a recap. Dr. Jackie, thank you so much for being here as you jet set a couple blocks away. If you want to get a first look at the revamped Hall of Meteorites, Space Fest will be this Saturday at American Museum of Natural History with plenty of family-friendly activities. And as far as pricing is concerned, we didn't mention that.
It's general admission tickets to come in. And then once you're in there, you're going to have access to everything. So I'm going to give a talk on the floor of the Hall of the Universe. So you'll hear from me. You'll hear about the moon. You'll see some of our very exciting projects that we're doing. But just come to the museum as you normally would, and you will be a part of Space Fest.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.